Shabbat Shalom. Yellow Vesters, shout out. We appreciate that you're angry, that you're sacrificing your time, you're sacrificing friends. I'm trying to think all the stuff that I sacrificed once I became a political activist. You sacrifice money, you sacrifice job opportunities, you get cut off, you get ostracized, you get condemned, family members stop talking to you, you're proclaimed as being crazy, you are shunned and mocked and ridiculed, you'll be spit at, what? You'll be economically castrated. Since I became a political activist, prior to that, I never bounced the check. I shouldn't say it, maybe like one time in 30 years, kind of never bounced checks. You know what I mean? Just so focused on being a good little debt slave, right? High credit rating. You know what I mean? Obeying the rules and all of that, all this stuff that they teach you. Basically there's this quote from the movie. There's this quote from the movie, The Gangs of New York. And it says, the appearance of law enforcement must be upheld, especially while we're breaking it. This was one of the politicians' bits of wisdom. And that's exactly what these rebels, these lawyers, these money lenders do, is they are parasitically enslaving the earth so that we build their castles, so that they can coast. They're parasites, they're leeches. So when we work, their bank buildings get bigger, even though they never physically built a bank building. They never worked on the architecture, but they get to use it. They own it at the end of the day. All of everything through usury gets siphoned up to these guys. So how about a song? Because what happens is history repeats. We get enslaved, it gets bad enough. And then Jesus comes 2,000 years ago, and he just repeats from the scroll of Isaiah when his people went into Babylonian captivity, right? So he goes, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has anointed me to preach good news to the poor, to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to captives, recovery of sight to the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed, to proclaim the year of our Lord's favor. That was horrible. Our Lord's favor. This is our Jubilee. I'm going to sing that every week till I actually get good at it. I got to figure out how to do it right. I think part of the castration of Yah's men is trying to get us always to sing really high when we're not meant to, nor should we attempt, nor is that important at all. It's not a desired outcome. The men should sing so as, think of Jericho, right? They sang and they brought the walls down. They shouted, they yelled, so that you fight without violence. It's possible to fight without violence. That's the whole point of all of this, is so that the word of God is weaponized so as to defeat evil. And we've been programmed our whole lives to think that the US Constitution was this holy inspired document that Yah wrote it with his finger, and then it came down off a mountaintop. We are taught that Jefferson and Washington and Madison were these great and noble men. And thankfully, prophets like Ted Weiland, and I don't agree with Ted Weiland in every topic. For instance, he says that only Israel is European nations. And I completely disagree with that, because I think it's, if you read the curses of Deuteronomy, it shows that everybody who's the tail today, right? When everything's wild and gone wrong, that means there's some other group that hates Yah. That's the head, the money lenders, right? The money lenders are the head. And because we're not lending money, because we're not taking charge, we are the tail, sadly. So to fix all of this, we have to go to the owner's manual and compare, right? At least prepare your heart to be wrong. At least prepare to investigate a topic. Prepare that yourself, that potentially, what if the US Constitution is just a sacred cow, right? That's how Babylon creates a false reality. It creates a whole bunch of sacred cows, topics that you're not even allowed to talk about. Like, we're not allowed to talk about money, religion, and politics, right? Always. And Michael Harvey, always revealing the facts. Keep up the ministry. Thank you so much. I'm looking at his profile picture, and it's like an angry bird. And that's the thing, is that in this time of great tribulation, men should be going, something is wrong, because I don't want to send my children to these schools. I want to homeschool. But then sadly, what the men do in their ignorance, sadly, even Bible believers, is then they turn their children. They pass their children through the fire of Moloch and turn them over to be debt slaves to the adversary. And who's the adversary? It's the moneylenders, the head. This is how we have this intergenerational enslavement of our people, because we refused to investigate the tenets of our belief system. And all we do is just keep ennobling the US military and the war machine, which is devouring the earth, in its quest to make more debt slaves. And that's all the US Constitution did from the get-go. So anyway, the things I'm going to be talking about today in this message and warning and a solution is the US Constitution forbids debt cancellation. One, man's law enslaves, just as it says in the curses and blessings of Deuteronomy. Man's law, which is Talmudism, man creating law, the very reason Adam and Eve went into, they fell from the garden. They were voting, and Yah frees. Number two, I want to talk about why wasn't usury and debt prohibition included in the U.S. Constitution from the get-go? Why didn't they put that in there? Right? They have the Bible. Surely they should have noticed. It's a commandment. It's in the Lord's Prayer. Jubilee was written on the American Liberty Bell. So it wasn't like they didn't know these things. And by the way, the good news of the Bible is Jubilee. It's all Yah's, and he's taking it all back, and he's going to give it to us for free. The founders weren't doing that. They were taking land away from other people that were living in harmony and not debt slaves. They were taking land away from people who are not enslaved in debt and replacing them with people who were enslaved and bonded to this intergenerational debt contract. Okay, the next teaching of number 4 is how the 1871 14th Amendment states plainly. I want to read it here. Let me bring it up so it's closer in. That's not it. That's it. Okay, which God do you serve? A, the U.S. Constitution, 14th Amendment, Section 4. The validity of the public debt of the United States shall not be questioned. Repeat, U.S. Constitution, 14th Amendment, Section 4. The validity of the public debt of the United States shall not be questioned. Alternatively, let's check the Bible out. Let's see who's better on the topic of debt. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. Okay. All debts forgiven every 7 years at the Feast of Tents. Every 7 years, 7 times 7, meaning it's the seventh feast. Like you don't do it at Exodus, you do it at Tents. You don't do it at the Feast of we got 7 feasts here, people, right? This is always the plan. 7-branched menorah, 7-branched cannabis leaf, 7 years, a debt forgiveness at the 7th feast. There's 7 colors in the rainbow, Roy G. Biv. There's 7 chords in a melody, A through G. Right? I'm not making it up. Let's go to the guitar. These things are just magnificent. Magnificent. Yah's creation is magnificent. And it's beyond me why people don't have faith in the King of miracles. Thank you for the comment and the encouragement, Michael Harvey. Let me know. I want to invite people on this broadcast for them to witness their same, I don't know everything. So let's bring some people on. And okay, so I wanted to show you this doohickey. This is okay, so you turn this on with a button. And this is how one, oh gosh, can you see that? So it's tuned to an open G, right? That's the highest letter you get. Or I should say the lowest, depending upon which direction you're going, okay? So it's A, B, C, right? So I know. Snark Tuner, Scott Bundle knows what's up. What's up, brother? This is magnificent. Yah is the King of creation, and we are to bow our heads, bow to our knees, that He and He alone is the creator of music, the creator of the heavens and the earth, the creator of all things, and therefore we render absolutely nothing to Pharaoh, absolutely nothing to Caesar. Nothing. Not our obedience, not our loyalty, not our faith, not our rendering, not our tithes, nothing, because all is Yah's. All of it. Caesar, Trump, Pharaoh, Obama, the Pope, your pastor, me, you, none of us. So if you want to make the yellow vest movement go right, that's how you do it. And then you should say, but what about if you're compassionate, if you care, if you're human, you should say, how do the elderly and the pensioners survive? How do all of the people who have been made dependent upon deeper and deeper levels of Babylon's enslavement? Because the U.S. Constitution was just a layer of the enslavement, right? Yah says that what you bind in heaven is bound on earth, and what is loosed on earth is loosed in heaven. All right. So I want to make sure I'm saving this video for my own kids for later on, and actually for this to be for homeschools, because it's essential that homeschools do not have another generation of their children where they are passed through the fire of Moloch, where they become Baal worshipers, where they end up supporting man's laws and money lenders in this, the Tower of Babel, right? That's what happens is over and over, man keeps creating Babylons due to our own rebellion and idolatry. Okay, so the US Constitution, I have a degree in history, right? So I can actually, they still, by the way, do you know this? If you have a degree in history, you're still not allowed to be a teacher of history. Oh man. So I want to go back to the Constitution and the time of the founders. Okay, so I got to drop this image and then I'm going to pick up a different one. So I got to drop that in the can. Bear with me, I don't have a producer. This is a low budget operation created by a faithful servant of Yah, and I'm doing my best to bring good news to his people and to show how we have so deeply been deceived, deeply, deeply. So I've been promoting Jubilee for 7-8 years now, making videos about it, making music videos about it. The Officer of Peace music video by the Wandering Monks, featuring Sherry Honkala, the 2012 vice presidential nominee of the Green Party. She ran for sheriff to block all foreclosures in Philadelphia because the sheriff theoretically has the power to block any foreclosures. The problem is the Constitution itself stops you from questioning the debt. The Constitution itself in the 14th Amendment. So some people go, okay, what we have to do is just overwrite that amendment. And I say, no, it was always, the Constitution was always meant to enslave. But insofar as any solution today, which is dependent upon a military coup or some QAnon something, as I've been getting promoted by various activists to me, because you know what happens when you're an activist? Say, Wayne, you're doing it all wrong. This is how you do it. You got to do the Q thing, because right now Q and people within the government, people loyal to Donald Trump that are trying to fight the deep state from behind the scenes. Well, here's the deal. They can't cancel the debt without overcoming the Constitution, which prohibits even questioning the debt from the 14th article. That's why this is so important. And why is it so important? What's the consequence of this debt thing? Well, the history of the United States is that of increased, bigger, longer, and more destructive wars, enslaving more and more people deeper and deeper in debt. Just think of the American people compared to 100 years ago. At the time of the First World War, roughly 100 years ago, right after the signing of the Federal Reserve Act. And, this is important because what we're talking about, that constitutional amendment, was in 1871. You couldn't question the debt. That means the bankers took over before the Federal Reserve. And if they took over before the Federal Reserve, what's the chance? Oh, whatever is the chance that they may have taken over prior to 1871. In fact, the Bible, and we know that Yah's word is true, that the borrower is servant to the moneylender. Now, going back even further than that into Deuteronomy 28:43, it says, the alien among you shall rise higher and higher, and you will go down lower and lower. He will lend money to you. You will not lend money to him. He will become the head, and you will become the tail. Did that promise not actually and truly occur? John Beecham, I think it says, great job, Wayne. And thank you, Brother Beecham, for the encouragement. And I want to offer this to everybody up. All you need to do to come on this show, if you're a witness for Yah, I want people who are understand or they're they have debate skills and they want to challenge something that I'm saying. This is not a Nicolaitan operation like Now You See TV. This is not a Nicolaitan operation like your pastor has. Like, how do I debate these topics with Alan Greenspan or Baron Rothschild? They don't. How do I debate these topics? Like, how can I debate somebody like Rachel Maddow, right? You can't. They all have layers of insulation protecting them because they have cut off these discussions. They have created an Overton window in our society of topics which are permitted to be discussed, and it's within a narrow framework. Think of all of the rain, the light. I'm trying to think of like a pyramid, a spectrum of color. And there's some colors that we can't see. Just like for dogs, there's like a dog whistle. We can't hear it, but the dog can, right? Well, there's layers of reality which have been kept from us, particularly surrounding the money system, because that's where the most elaborate lies in our society are buried. I'm sorry, the most deeply buried truths have layers and layers and layers of lies on them. It's only recently that the lie of gender dysphoria, that's a new thing. That's their most recent operation. Their oldest operations involve money and who makes law. So going way back. Okay, so let's get into the Constitution. Thanks for the encouragement. Man, I'm slow at this. Okay, let's go back prior to the American Revolution. Prior to the American Revolution. And in the new colonies, they settled when the Pilgrims came over. They landed in Virginia and New Amsterdam, which later became New York. And they settled it with these businesses. They're called like the Dutch East India Corporation, right? So sometimes they're going in different directions. And what had happened prior to that in Europe was there was a lot of expulsions over usury because Europe had become enslaved through usury. In fact, there was a 1,500-year war. 1,500-year war over usury because the church refused and condemned usury as it's written in the Bible, in the Old Testament and the New Testament. And in the Old Testament, it's a penalty of death or banishment, They would kick you out of the church, right? And that's a commandment. And by the way, righteous Jew Nehemiah led a debtors' rebellion, a successful debtors' rebellion, a biblical witness to what I'm explaining. Nehemiah led a successful debt revolt. Nehemiah 5, again, it ended usury. It returned the usury, it canceled debt, and it repatriated land that was stolen through usury. The founders of the United States knew this, but because they were Freemasons and rebels to God, they were Talmudists, and they were lawyers, experts in the law. Experts in the law, enslaving the people in man's law. So I'm giving various instances through history where the people were doing the same thing over and over. So in the New World, they had landed in basically what you would say is like New England initially. In those areas, I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm from Allentown, which is about an hour from Philadelphia. There's actually Pennsylvania Dutch. The Pennsylvania Dutch, they knew the English were always using mercantilism and trade and technology to further enslave people. So what they did is they said, no, we want to remain separate from you guys because we know what you're going to do. You're going to use technology in order to enslave people more deeply in debt. So they always kept self-sufficient. Okay. So they think of the Amish today, they would do very well in that society of the original Constitution. So back then, because there was no gold and silver in the New World, they created barter script. They created basically one barter equals 2 IOUs. I created a video called The Chicken Note that's based upon this. Check out The Chicken Note. It's a free video on YouTube. My Vimeo channel got canceled and censored. Okay, so it's all about birthright. Karen Schreier here says, yeah, there we go. It's time we take back what was stolen from us. Get up, stand up. Stand up for our birthright. Yeah, so Prophet Bob Marley in there. Get up, stand up for our birthright. Get up, stand up for our birthright. Right, so that's what's up. That's what's up. I agree with that. But the birthright, I don't know what your nationality is. So it says I was born in Australia. So your birthright would be in Europe, actually, just like mine is in Europe. If I assume if you're European, but however, if you're Aboriginal, Karen's picture isn't on here, so I don't. Maybe if she's Aboriginal, her birthright, the land of her fathers, is Australia. Just like for Hawaiian people, the birthright land through Jubilee, through the King's Law. The birthright inheritance, the land of her fathers, you'll occupy cities which you didn't build. That will be me and my family going to Europe and occupying. Okay, so let me move on here. I got to keep, man, I'm slow at the software. Okay, so at the time of the US Constitution, so that I'm rolling back. So we're before the war. They're having Indian wars, they're expanding, right? And whenever you have a war, you got to raise a tax, right? You got to pay for the war. And by the way, these Europeans shouldn't have been still in if they were Christians, they shouldn't have been conquering land to begin with. Aboriginals, Karen, are you an Aboriginal? Are you an Aboriginal? I'm very curious. If you're an Aboriginal, I would love to hear your perspective on all of this, or even if you're not, if you're an Australian and you go, you know what, the land of our fathers is Europe. Obviously, if we hadn't been brainwashed to be Americans, I'm not a North American because the Americans are Indian. They're American Indians. You'll be surprised I'm not colored. And by the way, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not saying everybody with it. There's African people. Karen Schreier here says, you'll be surprised I'm not colored. I'm assuming that what you're saying there is that you're Aboriginal, however, your skin color is white. Great, there's black people, Africans, who have white skin. However, their tribe is from Africa. So this isn't some forced violent, this is a surrender to Yah's will, that, you know what, Babylon has been mixing with war and exporting diversity and forcing their morality and then domesticating people, so as the American Indians become so brainwashed that they become Navajo code talkers. And then they go to enslave other people and other tongues in the usury debt. This is, since the days of John the Baptist, the kingdom is under violence and the violent take it by force. And we all become, through idolatry, deceived by taking a satanic oath to man's law. Exact. Oh, how can we sleep when our beds are burning? How can we sleep while our beds are burning? Oh, I love this. Yah, Babylon will fall again. So Karen, you're an Aboriginal who has come to believe in Yah, right? And this is how the good news was spread. Even Yah's always doing his will, even if the people bringing it came with ill intent, meaning the white man came with ill intent, meaning to take land from other races, right? And we're coming to be shalomers. Shalom means to make whole. So is there, Karen Schreier, I have a great question to ask. You can represent the Aboriginal people. Is there a greater way? Is a greater way to make the Aboriginal whole, or the Aboriginal race, a beautiful color? Yah created the colors like he created to make a garden with the true diversity of flowers. I live in Florida, and there's like all these exotic plants, and like there's even in here, there's lizards running around. They get stuck in here. They climb under the cracks in the door. But there's this massive, beautiful diversity of people that can sing way better than I can. I wish I could sing and create music like Prophet Bob Marley. I wish I could sing like a Clinton Fearon, right? I wish I had that level of anointing. Daniel Duke, I don't, it says, here you go, there's a link, but I don't know what the link says. Can you say what the link says and like how long it is and like what it means, like the significance and the relevance to the thread, which I hope it is. Maybe it's the song. Karen Schreier is like, that song was by Midnight Oil that I was, how can we sleep while our beds are burning? We can't sleep. All we can do is pretend that we are not on stolen land. So getting back to the George Washington led a war. Daniel Duke posted some of the words to the song. Out where the rivers broke, the bloodwood and the desert oaks, the Holden wrecks, boiling diesel steam in 45 degrees. The time has come to say fair's fair, to pay the rent, to pay our share. The time has come. A fact's a fact. Hallelujah. Let Yah's grace and wisdom fall upon all of the people of the earth so that he can restore shalom to all of the races of the people, all of their beautiful languages, all of their unique diversity, their self-esteem, their dignity, the time that they can be with their children, to raise their children and not have jobs to feed these den of thieves any longer. You got it, Wayne. You got it. You got it, my brother, Daniel Duke. You got it, Karen Schreier. You got it. Because I speak to walls all the time that don't want to believe. That defend Babylon all the time, that despise us, that hate us, when all we come is like our king, wanting to deliver good news, that there's a better way. There's a better way to live. There's a better way than competing with each other for money, than leaving our houses all day long to work for people that hate us, meaning the bankers. The time has come to pay the rent, and the rent, all of the wise servants know that the rent goes to the owner. Yah's servants know that the rent, from the parable of the good tenants, that the rent goes to the owner, and that the wicked tenants steal Yah's throne, steal like the Lion King, and they sit in his place. And just like the Lion King, Yah is inhabiting us. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has anointed me to go into the synagogue and share the good news with them, to go into the churches, to share the good news of the King's Jubilee, where he brings shalom. He brings peace to the earth by making everyone whole. He brings peace to the earth by canceling all the debt. He brings peace to the earth by abolishing usury. He brings peace to the earth so that you can pay your tax with flocks and herds and oil that we create with our hands, with labor, with our labor. By the way, Karen and Dave, I would love to have you as guests on. If either of you is willing to come on right now, I'd love for you to come on and talk about this. If you basically need a webcam, high-speed internet, and earbuds. That's it. And here's the deal: is we have to witness. It's so important for us to witness, for the men particularly, to be two witnesses, because we are to practice. We are to practice, we are to train, we are to study using Yah's law as our only offensive weapon to slice down the lies of Babylon, to use the cannabis of Exodus, to use the peace pipe with our fellow tribesmen of all races, realizing that the King of Kings is coming to make sure that we are no longer enslaved. That's what I want to teach my children. All right. Thanks for the invitation. I'm delighted to talk to you. Okay, I'm going to... Okay, I just want to finish this meme, and I'm going to send you an invitation so I can have you come on. You know that song? I got to find... I got to take that. I don't know how to take it down, though. Okay, there it is. Ah, man. Okay, so with respect to the meme, at the time of the American Revolution, basically King George was raising the taxes. And the other thing that King George was doing is he was requiring payments to be paid in gold and silver. But the colonies didn't have gold and silver. There were no gold and silver mines in the American colonies. So if you're paying a tax to pay for a war, Indian wars, so the tax is just being raised to pay for the war. The problem is they want you to pay the tax back in gold and silver, but you got no gold and silver. How do you pay it? It's very scarce. So then all of a sudden, the prices of everything else goes up. right? So if I could pay King George's tax by just, mowing the lawn or picking some fruit, I could show up with some wheat. The king doesn't want that, though. The king really wants a pound of flesh. It's really about enslaving you. It's not really that they've got plenty of gold and silver. It's really about getting you onto the hamster wheel, the perpetual rat race. That's why they monopolize money. Whenever there's a trust or a monopoly, their goal is to hoard it or keep it scarce. So if De Beers creates a monopoly over diamonds, their goal isn't to make sure diamonds are abundant and everywhere. Their job is to make diamonds scarce, to artificially increase the value of those things. Well, that's what they do with petroleum and gold and silver and Bitcoin and blah, 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 blah. Well, we don't want scarcity. We want abundance. We serve a God of abundance. So a lot of people will say, the Bible supports gold and silver, which it does. You actually pay your census tax with silver. That's good. However, the tithe itself, we have a big potluck and we can just bring our flocks and our herds and our oil, our labor and our gifts. So at the time of the American Revolution, they rebelled from the tax because they couldn't pay the tax. All of us, you're working all the time because this currency is so scarce. Whereas if you could just pay it in something that you're doing normally, like making, to feed your family, the necessities of life, food, water, flocks, herds, oils, right? Things needed, oil, anointing oil. The bridesmaids need to have oil, right? Oil, very important. So, okay, Daniel can't, now is not a good morning. So I'm sending you an open invitation that once you get set up, let's do a video together, because it's important. The more witnesses that we have in these topics to support what the Bible describes in the book of Acts 3rd, the time of refreshing, the time of restitution of stolen land, restitution. Okay, so this is all part of Yah's healing. So the time of the Constitution, first of all, you have the time leading up that you got the Liberty Bell and you're being enslaved. So they have the Liberty Bell and they lost their land. So they're having the motivation for them fighting England is they had already had their land foreclosed upon, right? Because they couldn't pay the gold and silver based money back. That's why we want our own currency. We need a currency based upon the things that we do have. So the American Revolution happens. The United States takes more loans out from European banks. All right. So then the Constitution then says you have to pay your debts in gold and silver. Says that on the original Constitution, because the loans needed to be paid back in gold and silver. So this is a little bit while later. So there's a little bit of gold that they found down in like Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina area. The problem is those mines eventually get monopolized by the same bankers, and gold and silver is still scarce because you have people all the way up in Maine and there's no gold and silver because it's not abundant enough. Just like during the Great Depression in the United States, just like in the Panic of 1873, there was they called it the Greatest Depression. During the Great Depression, there were 3,000 local currencies based upon the labor of the people, not upon some scarce scheme, artificial scarcity engineered by the moneylenders. So this is a huge idol. It's one of the greatest idols, gold and silver, and the U.S. military. They always show that image of a man, he's putting his hand up. One swears their oath to the U.S. Constitution. It's a promise to pay the bankers back. The whole reason that they created the Constitution to replace the Articles of Confederation is because it didn't have enough economic force of taxation to require that the bankers in Europe get paid. These are lawyers that write these documents. The lawyers are like, they're represented by the serpents. They're the most beguiling. They know how to seduce. They know how to, hey, we're going to give you these Bill of Rights, and you're going to be able to protest. You're going to be able to vote. You're going to be able to have arms. You'll have a right. Nobody can take away or infringe on your right to have a weapon or your right to speak. Yeah, you can speak, but you can't speak on the same level as Rothschild. You don't have the ability to completely monopolize the press, right? You can speak, but you don't have the power to, the military, through money. You don't have the power to completely prostitute the Pentagon and get them to go fight your wars. You won't, because the people in the Bible, in the word of Yah, in his wisdom, everybody can issue money. Within the Bible, in Deuteronomy 14:23 through 25, you bind it in your hand. The way you turn your tithe into money, anywhere in the world. So let's say you go to Hawaii and there's no gold and silver in Hawaii. I don't know how much gold and silver there is in Australia, but I know in Hawaii there's no gold and silver. So obviously 200 years ago they had paradise. It was, magnificent, self-sufficient, all good, perfect weather, just want for nothing. You have your language, your dignity, you're not debt slaves, you don't have jobs. You're not doing a bunch of nonsense on behalf of bankers. The men could wake up in the morning, and with my sons, like I will be doing today, is I can go run with them. I could go teach them, like I teach my kids how to catch snakes. I teach them how to catch turtles, how to catch snakes and kill snakes. We killed a snake here. Like we live on a lake, it's Florida. It's a jungle. Like you can, there's a park around the corner from us that you can consistently see, 30 or 40 turtles. And so the point is to get the boys in nature, to get them to see all of this magnificent wonder that Yah created, and none of it pays. None of it pays. None of it has to have a job. None of it. So if the yellow vest movement is going in that direction, then I'll put it on. But if your direction is, hey, we want a 2% reduction in our taxes, I'm not. It's no, we want to cancel the debt, but we still want our porn. We still want we still want abortion. We still want all, then I'm not a yellow vester. Because like it says in the curse of Deuteronomy 28:43, it's a package deal. Rebellion to Yah in one thing leads to the curse of the money lenders, where Yah says himself that he's going to sell you into captivity. Whoever rebels from Yahweh is sold into captivity. So the way this whole story ends, we all bend a knee and we all confess that Jesus, Yeshua, Messiah, Yah-who saves. Hallelujah. Nehemiah. So all wars are bankers' war, and that's how we're enslaved. So starting off right at the original Constitution was a debt contract. I have another image I wanted to bring up for a word as a constitutor. Bear with me. I'm looking. Okay. Yeah, here we go. So here's another meme. I made these memes like 5, 6, 7 years ago, but most people never seen them. Sadly, I'm the most ineffective servant of Yah possible because I've done so little to have an impact. It's astounding. Okay, so let me share this additional meme. So we're still, like, time-wise, historically, we're still at the time of the founders, because I just want to show that the Constitution itself was a corruption, because if the Constitution was intending to keep us free, it would have had debt forgiveness every 7 years. It would have abolished usury. It would allow for common people to just issue money based on their labor, instead of creating a monopoly of a currency that the common people did not have. Okay, the word constitutor. Okay, the word constitutor, one who becomes responsible for another's debt. We, the people, are the constitutors for the banker's debt. When one swears their oath to the Constitution, it's a promise to pay the bankers back. The U.S. has always been a colony of the bankers. When we place our hand on the Bible, so that our debt, we place our hand on the Bible so that our debt contract oath overwrites the Jubilee law, the debt cancellation law. Therefore, we end up pledging our allegiance to the debt contract. So do you want to pledge allegiance to the U.S. Constitution or the flag? Does the flag cancel all your debts every 7 years? Does the U.S. Constitution cancel your debts every 7 years? Does the U.S. Constitution give you a free land inheritance and have the restitution of land every 50 years? Land restitution, stolen land restitution, where even you went broke, you agreed to it, and then just like in Nehemiah 5, you get the land back because Yah is most merciful, and he loves you, and he wants your children to grow up free, and he wants the parents to be there to raise them in a tribal First Nation environment where they don't need jobs to leave. And, the Amish are doing it. This isn't a technology thing. This is a mindset thing. Surely we can use technology, including the technology of money, to innovate this Orwellian brainwashing that we've been subject to. Okay, so that's the time. So from the get-go, it was a slave contract. Then they wrapped it even deeper into slavery with the 14th Amendment, which I'm going to read here in a moment. So I want to show you. Okay, so it's I'm on Wikipedia, and you can read the Constitution itself. I just happen to be there right now. I need to share the screen, and I am going to the 14th Amendment on the U.S. Constitution. And where are we at? Okay, I got to add that. Make the screen bigger. That's not the way. Here we go. So that you guys can read what I'm talking. Not making any of this stuff. The U.S. Constitution prohibits canceling the debt. So you got to decide. You can't be a constitutionalist and for canceling the debt at the same time. It can't be done. It was always a debt. The very word constitution, constitutor, means you're taking over the debt. You're collectivizing the debt for all these war adventures. So the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution, it came in 1871, roughly. It's part of the voluntary slavery that is being perpetrated against us right now. So I just want to read it. Okay, there are the clauses. So anyway, with you have the amendment itself, and then you have a lot of sections below that. So it's just, they're lawyers, so it's lots and lots of stuff. It's important to realize that in a way, the 10 Commandments are our Constitution, and within those 10 Commandments, there are sections below it, meaning thou shalt not steal. There's a subsection below it, including thou shalt not be a usurer. You shalt not lend upon usury. Okay, so similarly, Yah has, that's why it says there's commandments and statutes and judgments. So you have a commandment, and the commandments include statutes, and then under that there's judgments, and then you like summarize all of that into the law or the Torah and the prophets who are implementing it, and then showing what happens when you don't obey. It's this continued cycle of captivity and release, bonding, and then releasing the bonds. Okay, so I'm going to read section 1, and it's talking about more or less all persons born or naturalized in the United States. Section 2, representatives shall be apportioned among the several states. Section 3, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress, et cetera, et cetera. Section 4, all right, now we're on topic. The validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, man's law, including debts incurred for payments and pensions and bounties for service in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned. The debt shall not be questioned. So what we have to look at, these guys, the oath keepers, right? The keepers of the oath to the US Constitution, they're putting down rebellions and insurrections when they waged war against the South, whenever like Gaddafi or Saddam Hussein, they threaten that they're going to buy and sell, right, mark of the beast stuff in some currency other than the Federal Reserve note, they get invaded, right? Because the United States is putting down insurrections and rebellions. And then the debt that increases because of those wars, then a new generation of children are born that are in even deeper debt slavery. So the debt through usury is growing exponentially, right? So you have the debt. Even if we just stopped going in debt, it would still grow because of usury. It becomes this beast that strangles and destroys it. It eats a pound of flesh. Okay, so we just explained how it was from the get-go, like a quick review here. We explained how the US Constitution and the war itself was engineered and based upon debt and repayment of debt. I canceled my meeting. Okay, Karen, just so before I send the invitation, does that mean you can come on right now? Because that would have a excellent, if you could come on right now. Again, you need earbuds and a webcam, and that's it. I send you a link, and you just click on the link, and then you can join in. So, okay, so the review was the historic precedent. What they do they use the same thing over and over and over. So if you go all the way back to the time of Nehemiah, Nehemiah, the righteous Jew, he was going, look, like all the people became in debt. We were selling everything in order to pay a pound of flesh. Our sons and daughters went into slavery. We mortgaged our lands and our fields and our orchards. We've sold everything in order to pay the king's debt. We're paying the king's. We're doing everything we can just to pay the king's tax. meaning man's law, right? So they went to the elders and the nobles, and they said, give to them this very day, give them their orchards, give them back their debt, cancel the debt, give them back the usury, and stop charging usury. I pray ye leave off this usury, is what they did. Okay. This same thing happens over and over again. So it happens in Nehemiah's time. It happens in Jesus's time. Fast forward throughout the Middle Ages, Dark Ages, is the money lenders plug in, come forth. Okay, so I got to get the link. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. I need to get the invite link. Bear with me. We're going to bring Karen Schreier on. All right. Okay, I got to hop. Bear with me. Bear with me. I'm sending her a private message so that she gets the link. And I didn't want to post it publicly. Okay, here's the link. Send. It's sent. Technology is a marvelous thing. Thank you, Yahweh. Okay, we're getting rid of that. Okay. Oh, absolutely, you can contribute. Like, yeah, for certain. Karen Schreier, just write a message. Only if I can contribute, of course. So I just want to finish my thoughts here is that, so if we look at the present reality of the world and we weren't religious in any way and just go, well, what's going on? Well, what do the people do every day? They get up and they go to jobs. And if you interviewed a whole bunch of people doing jobs, you go, when you were little, is this what you wanted to do? Is this what the job that you're doing today is? Do you want to leave your child all day long, or would you sooner have a Sabbath sort of day where you don't buy and sell, you don't do things that are based upon Babylon's and man's ways, you actually go do things out in nature that doesn't require any money, right? Wouldn't you sooner do that? Right? If you could sit down 100 people that are parents or like even students, right? Say like all that stuff that you learned, like, is it useful to you right now that you learned in college like I did? Is it helping you, the calculus and all of the physics, all of thermodynamics, electrical systems? Does it help you to build things? Are you building things right now that are benefiting other people? All of these jobs? Well, what Yah is saying is, I have a better way for you. I have I just want to make sure you can't do this on your phone. It has to be on a desktop. I should have been clear about that. So most people, and think again, the yellow vest movement. You have all these people. Here it is they're, even if they do love the job that they're at, are often sadly in jobs that they can't make enough money to survive. Their medical bills and their food and their housing. If you want to eat organic, it's expensive. And not everybody has land or a place near enough where they can have a collaborative farm, and they don't have enough time there. They've got 2 or 3 jobs. And they got to drive to pick up the kids, and the family's all broken apart because of divorce and all kinds of other nonsense. This is a full scale. We are subject to a full scale downpression on our people in every way imaginable. Monetary, economic, debt, chemical, nuclear, biological warfare being perpetrated against our people. And the greatest means by which that they do that is they monopolize the money so that everything that enters into our temples, our computer, which should just be occupied by Yah, where we banish all the other things, taking every thought captive in obedience to Christ, right? They have penetrated our temple since birth with TV and movies and Madison Avenue, Disney, and all that stuff. But even within all of those lies and deceptions, there's some truths that come out of it, like the Lion King movie I was talking about earlier. What we are being called to is the responsibility to be like the Lion King. We are the hands and the feet of the returned Messiah. In the same way that he transformed the apostles who were afraid, they were Hakuna Matata, right? The king was dead. They didn't believe the king was alive anymore, meaning Simba, right? But the king, meaning, the people, they were playing Hakuna Matata. They were saying, no, I'm not responsibility. Bad things happen, but I'm not responsible. Whereas the father, Mustafa, says, remember, the prophet comes. No, remember who you are. Remember your place. Remember that you are your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and how they were given a promised land, and all of us have a promised land. It's an allegory for the different races to go back into the land of their fathers. Men that fought these wicked and evil moneylenders, righteous Jew, Nehemiah, righteous Israelite, Moses, right? Because they were bond servants under Pharaoh. They were in debt slavery so long that they forgot they were even Israelites. And similarly, we have to remember our identity, just like Simba did, and that our goal, our mission, is to become the judges of tens, fifties, hundreds, and thousands, tens, fifties, hundreds, and thousands. Tens, hundreds, fifties, and thousands. Prophets of Yah, leaders, judges, and then we become the establishment. We become the economy. We become the dominant morality. We adjudicate whether abortion is permittable. We will judge whether usury is permittable. We will judge what happens to the debt. It's canceled every 7 years at the Feast of Tents. That's why this topic is so important. That's why I'm teaching my sons this topic. This is why we're commanded to teach Torah so that our children never fall into debt in the first place. So I'm a member of a group teaching. It's a group called Hebrew Roots. So I go in and I've issued a debate challenge, and I think I can do this. I'm going to take you on a tour with me. Bear with me. I got to get there. Because I just want to, there's a group of people that are called Hebrew Roots. Okay, so I'm going to show my Facebook screen. I'm going to take you on a little journey with me in my world, how I do battle on Facebook in order to spread Yah's good word, and what the obstacles are. The obstacles that I bump into, and that is that people have cognitive dissonance, because this particular group of people, they're Hebrew Roots, as I am, and I believe in Hebrew Roots, obviously. that you should follow the Torah, but they come to a place where it's Hebrew roots only within the four walls of whatever, if it's in their car or if it's inside their house or some school or whatever. They're not willing to dominionize. They're not willing to go back and say, no, this law applies to our family, our tribe, not just to me and maybe my family. No, this applies to my interaction with all alleged other authorities. And it's through this transformation that the Exodus occurs. This is how two men go out and they're able to put Babylon on trial because Yah is with them. That's why it's so important to have two witnesses, because in that instance, you have a church and then Yah is there, and then Yah is there to execute judgment upon that third party who is in. Daniel Duke says, not willing to want to be separated from my day-to-day, from my day in and day out. We're separated. Like we get separated from our kids. I assume that's what you're referring to, is in this Babylonian system, we're constantly being separated from our kids because we're chasing Federal Reserve notes. Where the real God of Babylon is the Federal Reserve note. It's the mark of the beast. This is the 666. Because if you don't serve it, you'll get cut off. You'll be living like John the Baptist, eating locusts and wearing animal skins because you have no money. You can't buy and sell. You've been cut off. You've been ostracized from the synagogue, right? The whole earth has been turned into the synagogue of man, which is Satan, the synagogue of Talmudism. So we're coming with the good news of the 7-branched menorah, because every 7 years you cancel the debt. Every 7 days, like today, you get a day off, so you're not working constantly, right? We don't buy and sell today because we want to forget about how this dominates. We want some time to think about how we can overcome this satanic system. And I was blessed the other day to be able to do a video with Anthony Michels from Holland. And he has a local currency there called the florine. For any of you yellow vesters, he's in Holland. Hook up with him. And in France, they could create another one. And basically, you're forming your own bank for about 10 grand of software. And you can do a very easy crowd-funded appeal for money. You create this French version of the florine. Then now what you have the ability to do is now you can take care of the pensioners and the widows and the orphans. Now you can do that. Now you have an independent economic system. Now you have an independent banking system. So now what you have to do is recruit more and more people to join it, particularly in the focus of those who are particularly in the focus of those businesses which provide food, water, shelter, transportation, energy, gasoline. You get all of those to be members of that currency system so that now you can support life, right? Meaning every human being needs certain things to live. And by the way, in doing all of this, now you're protected for whenever these guys, these money lenders and false accusers, the war pigs, if the war pigs, when they conjure up their next war for common debt slaves, those who take an oath to the satanic constitution, we need to give those deceived, beautiful brothers and sisters, we need to give them another option, another way that we can sustain them, another way that they can pay for their families, food and water and shelter. Now we can hire them to be judges of tens and fifties, hundreds and thousands, right? So if there's just 10 of you, you have one judge among you. If you do whatever you do for work and he's able to do this, he's able to go out into the community and all of you recruit more and more people to join the tribal Exodus government. To say, whoever the law enforcement is that that group will become the judges, they'll become the law enforcement. And within that group, they'll say, we're canceling the debt. Well, what happens next? Now, hey, we're not paying, but now we have all of our food and water. Well, then the police and the military are going to line up against you. And you say, hey, we don't hate you. You're in debt too, brother and sister cop, brother and sister policeman, brother and sister sheriff, brother and sister Marine or airman, brother and sister IRS, bean counter. Join our bean counters, right? Count the beans. Go find out where Rothschild has hid the gold. Go find out where Rockefeller and J.P. Morgan and all these den of thieves have stolen the loot. It's through this very understanding. You know how the Israelites plundered the gold from the Egyptians? Because they all realized that, hey, the jig's up. Pharaoh, meaning Trump and Obama and the money lenders and Esau, they're not the creator. The gig's up. There's nothing that Pharaoh's army can do against Yah's anointed Israelite people when they obey, because what they're doing is they're marrying Yah and they're obeying Yah as their only authority to the exclusion of all other authorities, right? So we're struggling. I'm not saying like, I'm going to be building pools up until I convince enough people that we can do this. I already tried doing that with mountain hours up in Summit County. That was my whole motivation for creating mountain hours was back then I was a constitutionalist, but I realized that the Constitution was a deception from the get-go. All right, Karen.
Hello.
You are there. Let me.
Yellow.
Okay. Oh, you got your yellow vest on.
Of course.
Ah, nice. What have you done? Have you done any street actions with the yellow vest?
No. Unfortunately, I'm not able to do so because, like you told, I haven't got any money. I paid the rent. I paid the gas, the gasoline. I have a car. I need it. I'm in a small town, and I have a child to raise. She's 19, but she needs everything. I can provide for her as long as I can give it to her. And, that's why I'm at home, stay-at-home mama.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't either. I haven't done any street action stuff. It's just.
Well, I'm following it. I'm on it.
Yeah, I'm trying to. See, here's the thing. Now you're in the most important way. What you're doing here is extremely important because it says in the word, Yah does not want his people to be like sheep without a shepherd. I think I lost your audio. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, it's good. So the point is that because the topic that we're discussing right now is so out of the realm, it's been so removed from our society, land repatriation. Who talks about land repatriation generally is that ever talked about on TV?
No.
Debt cancellation, is that ever on TV?
No.
How about usury abolition? You ever see that on TV?
No.
How about labor-backed currency? Is there a big movement for labor-backed currency?
No. We the people do it, but we need each other. I was a single one, a single mama, a single person, and I was against the system.
Uh-huh. So
it brought me a little bit less than I deserve, a free and abundant life. Okay,
so earlier in the thread, you were saying you're Aboriginal. You have a roots that go back to the
I
indigenous
was
there?
born in Australia.
Yeah, I mean, there's Europeans that are born in Australia, though. Is my point? Are you? Does your family have Aboriginal bloodline in it?
Well, my father did some research on the blood, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm one blood.
Okay, fair enough. So I guess what my point is that can you think of we were talking just through the text earlier, can you think of a greater blessing to the Aboriginal people than for the Europeans to go back to Europe at least to the point where they can have their self-sufficiency back, their First Nation identity?
Okay.
Just like the song.
Yes, I know. I didn't send you it by purpose, you know. It wasn't just like that. And I think Daniel, was it Daniel?
Yes.
Who did the translation or the text?
Daniel Duke. I'll put it up
Thank
again.
you. Thank you.
Can you read that?
Yes, of course.
Well, see, I can't see what you see on your side.
Yeah, it's the text. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Great. So what can? Okay. What was your question again? I'm sorry.
You have the question is the Aboriginal people?
Oh yeah,
deserve their land back.
Oh yeah, like the Indian.
Like the American Indians, I agree. Yeah, I'm standing. Yeah, I'm standing on stolen land.
Well,
I'm in Tampa, Florida.
Yes. Okay. Well, bless you anyways. So if we did the diaspora, if we did all of this, we land somewhere on a place on earth. Like, okay, how the hell did I get here? Okay, but anyways, we're here, right?
Sure. It was through generally a lot of debt slavery is how Australia was settled as a debtor's prison.
Yes. Yes.
And that's how this all comes.
My father must be a criminal, right?
Well, that's they're debtors, and that's the thing. There's a relationship between sin and debt. Like, you know how it says you pay your debt to society by going to jail, right? That's why it says in the Good News, the Spirit of the Lord is to release the prisoners. The captives are set free. You know.
You know, Constantine. Do you know something about that Roman? There was a film about him. Constantine. Right.
Yes, sure.
Okay. So how can we, as Christians, as people, as daughters and sons of God, how can we be free finally at last?
Follow the law. If we have established a tribal government. Because here's the deal: is that if we just stop paying debt, right? So we're counseling the yellow vest people, because right now the biggest part of the yellow vest movement is they're promoting the initiative to remove their money from the banks. They're divesting. They're taking their money out. They're calling it a bank run. They're creating.
What is a bank? It's all computer. You know, there is no money.
Sure, I agree.
There is no. It's a computer thing, you know. So and when there is good things, we print it, and when there's a bad thing, well, we're in lack of. So you must starve. But there's enough.
Well, there's plenty. I fully agree. My point is that the consequence of making a run on the bank is if our goal is just to bankrupt the system, what's going to happen then to all the people who are dependent upon a check? They're dependent upon welfare. They're dependent upon
rent.
Yeah, so there's very many people that are currently dependent upon the system. So it's an incumbent. What we're talking about does not bring them peace. So in order for us to be shalomers, we need to find a way to bring them peace. So the way that we bring them peace is by creating an alternative money system backed by our labor so that we can say to them, don't worry, brother and sister.
You talked to Anthony yesterday.
Sure. And that's what Anthony's system will achieve. Anthony Michel's system will achieve is it creates a replacement system so that all the people that are nurses still go to work, but they get paid in a different system, and they can still survive and pay their bills on that different system.
Well, will it? Because how many people do actually get access to that system and do know how to survive?
Well, they don't. Yeah, my point is it's we have to take the responsibility, just like in the movie The Lion King. We have to take the responsibility to do this. It's not about really protesting. It's more about taking responsibility that rather than us being dependent upon the Babylon or Caesar, we create a system where we're not dependent upon the nanny state. We're dependent upon ourselves. Mm-hmm. We're dependent, like the Amish, right? Like the American Indians. They took care of their people. That is
no vaccinations, no diseases, just healthy food.
Exactly. And
no cars, by the way.
Yeah. I'm not anti-technology, but it's in a tribal society, we won't be so dependent upon money. We won't be so dependent upon planes and international travel and all of that, because that's the system of Babylon that centralizes everything and makes a monotheistic or a monoculture, creates a monoculture, basically, this system.
Yes.
So there's I'd imagine, just like, for instance, in Australia, like in North America, for instance, they had bison. The indigenous had bison. And then when the white man, and they slaughtered the bison, and they replaced them with cattle. So I'm sure when
I'm a buffalo girl.
Right, buffalo soldier, right?
Yes. And the lion is Zion.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like we were talking about the line of the tribe of Judah and the movie, the Lion King. And I watched this movie with my son and say, you can't just play all the time. You got to take responsibility, because if we're supposed to be a nation of priests and holy men, we're supposed to be king. It says 2 times that we're kings, right? Responsibility. That means that we take responsibility to this mess. We stop blaming the moneylenders. We stop blaming the left. We stop blaming the right. We stop blaming the politicians. We are the change. Be the change. And we have to have the mission and the leadership on behalf of the Yellow Vests. If their mission doesn't accomplish this goal of justice, then it's not really a revolution. It's just a color revolution. And you're still going to be working for the same bankers. They're going to kick the can down the road, right? That's what they do, is they just kick the can down the road.
Mm-hmm. So what or who do we need? Of course, but what else can we do?
Well, what do you do for work now?
None.
You stay at home? Are you're collecting a benefit?
Yes.
Okay. But what did you do at some point? What?
I was at mental health care.
Oh, I mean, is there how much need for mental health care is there today?
Listen, I would say we only get money from people who get sick, and they get sick of the system, and that's where we earn money. So we should turn it around a bit.
Yeah, just imagine if we got compensated for every person that we cured from mental illness.
Oh yeah.
And the money system was based upon that, meaning there's no money that exists until somebody gets cured.
Well, let's turn it back, not to get sick, but okay, to be cured. Okay, I would like prevention more rather than solving, because that is the problem in this world. We're only, what do you say?
Preventatives.
Now thinking Dutch, and now trying to talk English.
It's preventatives.
Okay. Yeah, right. and we do not get the root of the disease.
Symptoms.
Okay.
Palliation.
So the pharmaceutical industry has really good jobs on all the people who cannot stand it anymore. They cannot. They don't know how. Okay, so
yeah, that's true.
if you're asking me what one can do to prevent so is to just be in what was the original plan of Yah, of God, to live free and liberate, and do not be any slave of any what kind soever, so we don't get sick.
Yeah, health. Yeah, I say that
Mental
often.
Health, physical health, all.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like the whole gender dysphoria thing right now.
Oh,
it's madness. Madness.
Listen, I'm a real woman, you know. So, I'm a divorced woman, but I'm a real woman, and I don't get it. You know?
Right. Just so we're clear, there's just two options, right? Is that what you're saying? There's just two options, because that's what I believe.
Or to be or not to be. That is the question. Or what are you saying?
Yeah.
Man and woman.
That's right.
Only that.
All right. Well, I got to get back on baby duty. I appreciate you coming on and being another.
Thank you so much for having me here, because it took a long while.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you coming on, because it takes courage to witness but
there's only one solution: by us. Because many people say, like in Jehovah's Witness, oh, but God will bring Armageddon and he will bring. No, we are the ones who are making the change.
Yeah.
It's not somebody from somewhere. If I lay down, if I fall down or get a heart attack, I will not be on the streets thinking, oh, well, I'm a child of God, so he will save me. I hope my sister or brother will come to save me.
Yah animating us. Yah animating us in order to do those things. I'm just trying to make a very important distinction, is because I'm not a humanist. I believe in Yah animates us with the heart of rebellion, where it says the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, meaning the Holy Spirit has fallen upon you. He has anointed me to preach the good news that you are sharing right now, that Yah's people, he paid the debt. The debt is paid. Hallelujah. Thank you for paying the debt. We don't have to go to work on Monday if we all just believe that.
Our alarm. Yeah.
Hallelujah. Thank you for coming on, Karen.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you. Shalom, shalom.
All right. How do I do this? Wow, that's so cool. She's from Australia, just came on. She knows Anthony McShells from Holland, because I detected, I was expecting a Australian accent, but it was more European. I studied German in high school and college, so I was detecting more of a German accent. So that is that for today. Just as a quick review, is number one, the US Constitution forbids debt cancellation. Man's law forbids cancellation of the debt. In fact, Yah says, if you obey man's law, you will be sold into slavery. That's the repeated history. And man's law enslaved, Yah's law frees. Number two, during the time of the Constitution, usury and debt were not condemned in the Constitution. They were not forbidden in the original Constitution, because these were the constitutors and the founders were agents for European bankers who financed both sides of the American Revolution. That's why they required gold and silver in the first place, and the colonies had no gold and silver. And then in 1871, they bound it up even more, that you can't even question the debt. I guess back before then you could question the debt. Now you can't even question the debt. So the consequence of all of that is we have more and more war, because you need more and more debt slaves, and war increases the debt. You know, during the first World War I, prior to the war, The debt was $1 billion. After the war, it was $13 billion. So war is very good for the moneylenders. So perpetual debt, like if you can't, here's the deal. If you can't cancel the debt, you have to do a couple things. You need more debt slaves to pay it. You need more land to pay it. You need more resources to pay it. You need greater tyranny because the debt slaves are going to revolt. So you need a police state. Then you increase the taxes to pay it, or you cut the benefits, or both, right? So the debts get bigger, 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 and it just crushes the human beings. Eventually, they get enough pain, just like in The Lion King, and they can't play Hakuna Matata anymore. They can't say it's not my responsibility. They remember who they are, and then they say, that's right, I gotta fight this false authority. I gotta fight this false king. I must resist it. But the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. They're not physical. We do it with the word of Yah. We go out into the local churches and synagogues, and we recruit those that are willing to serve Yah instead of Yah's adversary. Yah wants to give debt cancellation. His adversary wants to expand debt slavery. Another quote here from Daniel Duke. Ultimately, few, if any, understand what a theocratic government is. Its subjects will recognize the will and the direction of the Almighty God. Hallelujah, Daniel Duke. And we were doing a song about this a couple of weeks back. It says, Yah, Yah, raise us up. Yah, raise us a deliverer. Man, I wasn't ready for that. Better voices than mine will have to sing that song, perhaps. I'll sing along, but they'll have to lead. Or I'll lead until they replace me. So this is my gift to my sons. This is how I tithe to Yah with my time and my energy and labor to be servants and to act as a shepherd, so that his people are not like sheep without a shepherd. Thank you for your comments and appearance, Karen Schreier, and your comments, Daniel Duke. If you want to appear later on, you have great things to say, and I'd love for you. Daniel's the one that shared the quote from, not the quote, but the comment, which is the lyrics to a song, "Our Beds Are Burning" by Midnight Oil, about how the original Aboriginals, with restitution, deserve their land back, and how Yah is coming with the good news. He's filling up his servants and giving them the spirit to resist, refuse their domestication, as Jim Callahan says, to spit the bit, get off the hamster wheel so that we can live without this rat race, without this downpression, without these destructive jobs, right? So Karen says, my gift to coming generations, right? This is our gift. The prophets come, the prophetesses come to return the hearts of the fathers to their children. Repeat that. Our mission is to return. What are you going to do, my Christian brothers and sisters, about this debt? Our children are born and they're already $50,000 to $100,000 in debt. That means they'll be working their entire lives as debt slaves. What is your solution? If you don't like what I'm talking about, what is your solution? And when do we debate it? Just like if I had a flat tire, right? I build pools for a living. If I get a flat tire, my focus is not how it happened necessarily. My focus is to fix the flat tire. But normally in the process of fixing it, you'll see, you'll discover what the cause of the problem is, right? You can see, like, sometimes my fender, I had one where I had a blowout, right? So then it was the tire. Like, sometimes it's from me cutting corners, right? Sometimes it's from punctures, like nails get stuck in it, because I drive in people's, I build pools, so I drive into their backyard and I drive over nails. In fact, nails on my own property, because I'm always building stuff here, right? You take responsibility to fix the problem. And if you see what all of these problems are, you don't go, oh, the problem is the progressives. The problem is the Democrats. The problem is the conservatives. The problem is the atheists. No, it isn't. It's not all. The problem is me, because I was taught lies. And thankfully, with Yah's anointing, he has returned the sight to the blind. I was blind, but now I can see. And as it says, for lack of vision, my people perish, but he that keeps the law for restitution, the law for shalom, the law for usury prohibition, the commandment for the cancellation of all debts every 70 years, the command to proclaim Jubilee throughout the land every 50 years, to proclaim that the captives are free. This understanding, this temple, fill this temple with Yah's word and his understanding, that only only Yah creates law. Then I teach that to my children. I teach that to my wife and my family, that they know the law, and they know that if they rebel from that law, they'll be enslaved. And that eventually we have the courage and focus to entirely divorce Pharaoh, and we go on in Exodus into the promised land, and we return to the land of our fathers, that we have the courage and the focus and the willingness to do these things. So this is when we do it. That's all for now. Shabbat Shalom.